fans of truly excellent MMA, welcome back to the Naughty Boy Fight Picks podcast. It is the 10th of the 9th, 2018, Monday here in New Zealand. This is my recap for UFC 228. Truly incredible event, really. And I think during the week I tweeted as I purchased the pay-per-view that I did so begrudgingly, thinking that the Till Woodley fight could potentially be a dud, bit of a staring match, and that the co-main event was kind of a farcical title fight. How wrong I was. It turned out to be an incredible event and worth every dollar. So, and I think I said on last week's podcast that I was excited for the event. There were lots of fights I was looking forward to, but yeah, I think it delivered beyond what most people were expecting. And interesting in that such a good event, it's quite likely, I haven't seen anything about the pay-per-view numbers, but I imagine they'll be pretty low. So, bit of a shame. But I did see Luke Thomas framing it in a nice way and saying that if you're a hardcore fan, a really invested fan, then this is your reward. If you always pay attention and you know what you're looking at, then you get cards like this that a lot of people may miss out on because they're not super tapped in, and you get to enjoy real high quality product or real high quality MMA such as this card. I just want to say thank you to a bunch of people who following my podcast last week where I talked about a bit of a freakish incident involving my health occurred. Lots of well wishes and people telling me to take care of myself and that nature of things. So I do appreciate that. That's really kind and kind of touching even. So thank you very much. Had a bit of a shitter with the betting yesterday. I went down 4.8 units. So nothing terribly depressing, and I guess the card being great made up for it, but I dropped down a couple places on the BetMMA.tips leaderboard, but still in the top 50. I think I'm sitting at 47 now, so looking to get those units back this week. The Montano fight being pulled, whilst probably good for the card and the viewing experience, fucked a lot of my parlays, so bummed me out a bit there, but never mind, we'll be back. I want to get those units back up this week, and I'll do my tips and predictions for that card probably not tomorrow but the day after. I hope. We'll see how much time I get to, but I really want to look at this card properly. I didn't really go in depth last week, and I guess I paid for it, so lesson learnt. With that, let's go through the card and just kind of talk about these fights. Where are we? So the opener was perhaps one of the more uneventful or uninteresting fights. Jared Brooks defeating Roberto Sanchez via split decision. Strange that it was a split. Jared Brooks definitely seemed to dominate, particularly those last two rounds. I think could have given Sanchez the first. And yeah, I guess Sanchez looked like more of a handful for Brooks than most people expected, but you could probably put that down to the short notice. I think Brooks had, I don't know, just under a week to prepare for the fight. So yeah, maybe probably doesn't do too much for him with a kind of tough fought decision win over an opponent people would expect him to beat, but maybe it carries him some favor with the company coming in on short notice. So, and yeah, gotta add that Brooks looks small, man, and I wonder if that will present problems for him as he moves further. So yeah, not too much to talk about that fight there. Next fight up, Irene Aldana defeating Lucy Pudilova in an action-packed 3-round split decision. once again, the split being pretty interesting. Although it was a very back and forth fight, I thought Aldana got the last 2 rounds pretty easily. Super entertaining fight. Both women trading lots. I think the big difference here was, and I don't think you often see it this pronounced, but I thought Aldana's use of footwork made almost all the difference. Her head movement also played a pretty reasonably sized factor in this fight, but yeah, you saw Aldana had good footwork and Pudilova just come straight forward, and Aldana using the footwork would angle off, would make Pudilova miss a lot, that also with the head movement. And I think in the end that's what won her the fight, but fucking super entertaining. And yeah, real good win for Aldana. I think both women look like they could do things in this division. I think Pudilova's quite young, isn't she? So definitely looking forward to seeing them in fights in the future. Next fight up, Jim Miller defeats Alex White via submission, rear naked choke early on in round 1. I saw a couple of people that cashed prop bets on Miller to win by sub in the first round, so which was paying ridiculous amounts of money. Props to those people who saw that coming. I had predicted that Alex White would win, and I'd mostly base that off Jim Miller's streak of losses, and I thought Alex White was much quicker, much more athletic, but fuck, Jim Miller showed, and I guess I suspected that somewhat. So you look at all those losses and they're to very, very good opponents. So there, I had a bit of trepidation around that because I had White and some parlays. A bit of trepidation there, thinking, well, he hasn't lost to guys at White's level, but I thought it might be curtains time for Jim Miller, but apparently he's still fucking got something left. And he looked, so if you go back and watch the Hooker fight, he looked slow in that, but he looked pretty sharp here. He's obviously not the fastest guy and he's getting older, but he looked very sharp, striking, and he caught Alex White a number of times before getting the sub. So props to Jim Miller, and I guess that means we'll see him back again. I wonder how much the Lyme disease plays into how he looks in the octagon on different occasions, because he looked pretty bad against Hooker, and I guess you could put some of that, or a lot of that, down to the way Hooker cooks his opponents. But yeah, Jim Miller just running straight through Alex White, which surprised me. Next fight up, Diego Sanchez defeating Craig White, 30-27s all round. Yeah, I didn't have any plays on this fight, but I did pick Craig White in my picks and predictions video. You just felt like all Craig White needed to do was stuff one takedown. Like, he just needed to be on the feet long enough for a couple of exchanges, and he would have clipped Diego and finished the fight. But Craig White, trying to think of a nice way to put this, but it's difficult, but he is not UFC level. His yeah, that was just atrocious, really. And Sanchez, happy for him, especially see he felt disrespected by a guy who is not good at all. So good for him getting the win. Bad for him that he will probably come back again. Saw him during fight week talking about how he wants to get a title and it's his destiny. It's like, holy fuck, that's some pretty deluded statements to be making, but never mind. Darren Stewart defeating Charles Byrd by KO in round 2. I had favoured Byrd in this, but I did say that I didn't want to play it because of Darren Stewart's last performance, and I felt like he might have turned a corner. And difficult to say from this performance whether that assertion was true, because Bird was pretty clearly winning the fight on the feet, and I guess in the end Bird just paid the price for that, where there may have been smarter avenues for him to take this fight instead of staying striking with a dangerous striker like Darren Stewart. But he was doing really well and was pretty clearly winning, and then he got caught. So I guess the lesson there is Darren Stewart is really dangerous and can stay dangerous despite how clearly you might be winning. So another great win for Stewart. He's now on a 2-fight win streak following a, I think, 3-fight losing streak in the UFC from his genesis there. So fucking cool for him. And yeah, but also not super encouraging for what happens next, just because of the way he was getting beaten and he didn't really seem to have much answers. So see what happens next. Next fight up, Jeff Neal defeating Frank Camacho via KO head kick, brutal head kick that came in early on in the second round. So I think in my breakdown last week I talked about how I thought Neal could match Camacho for speed, but it turns out he was the much faster striker. His hand speed's incredible, his boxing's incredible, a really nice striking defense as well with the guard. He used that quite well, and if you watch Camacho's previous fights, you would be could be forgiven for believing it would be wise not to get into a stand-up trading punches sort of fight with Camacho, because he has looked really good in those fights in the past, or looked real, yeah. So he's looked to have reasonably quick hands and good counters. He kind of fires right off the opponent's attack and with nice body shots and hooks and stuff. But fuck, he didn't get a look in against Neal because Neal was just way too fast and straight. Kept throwing that left straight and just popping him with it, and Camacho didn't have an answer. Neal was real composed a few times when he got Camacho hurt and had him up against the cage, and then Camacho would start to swing, and you could see the temptation was there for Neal just to swing back, but each time he'd take a step back, reassess, and then establish, like, you know, going back to the good technical striking and making sure that his shots were landing. So super impressive performance by Neal. He looks like a guy that could be a contender at welterweight, so I'll be super interested to see what happens with him next. Tough for Camacho. Don't know what lies in his future, being that he's had the difficulty with changing divisions and whatnot. I actually thought, so from tape I did, I figured that they might be reasonably even in the striking, although I did favour Neal, but I thought Neal was going to look much bigger than Camacho, but he actually didn't. Neal's quite a small welterweight as well, so yeah, it was the hand speed, precision, technique, I thought, for Jeff Neal, and he looks incredible. Next fight up, Aljamain Sterling defeating Cody Stamann via a knee bar. I've heard a lot of different people call it a lot of different things. I'll just go with knee bar from the back. He got that in round 3. After I put out my video last week, I ended up putting a small play on Cody Stamann, which I obviously regret, but it was small, thankfully. I kind of thought that it would look this way. I thought Aljamain would look better early on and Stamann would eventually take over the fight and get a win, but it looked as though to me that Stamann kind of broke somewhere in that second round, and Aljamain was proving too difficult and too strong. And yeah, an incredible performance for Aljamain. And I think, yeah, he's looking better each time out. There's been a lot of doubt cast around him and what his ability is at the top of that division, but he keeps looking better and better. So that was a pretty incredible victory for him. I think most people were favouring Stamen to win there, and Sterling gets a win. So be interested to see what he gets next. He called out Dominic Cruz. I like that fight. Yeah, would love to see that fight, in fact. So hopefully they make that, but maybe unlikely given the top of the division, what's happening there. The last fight of the undercard, Tatiana Suarez defeating Carla Esparza, TKO strikes near the end of round 3. I think this went the way people suspected it would go, but even in spite of that, it was still super impressive. So you kind of had a feeling that this is what would happen in this fight, but it's so dominant that it's still really impressive even when you're expecting it. So Suarez, yeah, just with incredible wrestling, man, which I don't think we've seen the likes of in women's MMA up to this point, not that I can think of anyhow. And following the performance and it being so dominant of a reasonably respected fighter in Esparza, and the commentators begin talking about Suarez and should she have the next shot at Rose, and that seemed like pretty reasonable talk at the time until a fight later on in the card, which kind of put that to bed, I thought, and I'm sure most people agree. But great performance for Suarez. I personally like the Joanna matchup for her next, unless they make, I wouldn't be surprised if they make Joanna Valentina for the 125 title next, although Joanna's said she doesn't want to fight at 125, but I wonder if they offered her an immediate title shot, whether she'd take it or not. Surely that would be too good an opportunity to turn down. But yeah, if she does insist on staying at 115, I'd like to see her fight Tatiana next. And assuming that Andrade gets the next shot at Rose, then Tatiana versus the winner of that fight is super intriguing as well. So maybe give Tatiana JJ, if she gets past her, then she gets the winner of the title fight. I think would be a good way to proceed in that division. And that division, great. Lots of exciting and compelling matchups to be made at 115. Onto the main card. Abdul Razak Al Hassan defeating Nico Price. 43 seconds of the first round KO. I forget what the stats were, but Razak Al Hassan has had something like, I don't know, 7 or 8 knockouts within the first minute of a fight. So just crazy power. And I saw a lot of people picking Nico Price, and I favoured Al Hassan, but I didn't want to play this fight just given how dangerous Nico Price can be, and the unpredictable manner in which he can finish fights. So I stayed away from it, faded the fight. Apparently Al Hassan finished up. The betting lines closed with at Pick'em odds, so fuck, that would have been a great play if you got it late. Yeah, so I saw a lot of people who were talking about Nico and thinking he would win, talked about his intelligence, but fucking hell, he shit the bed in this fight and decided to get into a firefight with Al Hassan, who appears to be one of the hardest punchers, just full stop. Like, you forget about talking divisions or whatnot. This guy just is a fucking heavy-handed beast, and Nico Price paid the price, as Anik so hilariously quipped. So yeah, great win for Al Hassan, and very interested to see how they match him up next. Maybe a ranked guy. He's been on a bit of a streak, so we shall see. Next fight of the night, one of the two fights that didn't really deliver much in the way of action or excitement. Jimmy Rivera defeating John Dodson via unanimous decision. Yeah, happy for Rivera to get back on the winning track. I was. Weird performance by Dodson. So I think early on he was doing kind of his usual shit where he'd blitz in and jump into the pocket, and I think Rivera clipped him a few times and he realized he didn't want any part of that. So for the remainder of the fight he mostly just stayed on the outside, which made it pretty easy for Rivera. And also surprised, so and I'm sure as most people had assumed Dodson would have a reasonable speed advantage, but Rivera seemed to match Dodson for speed in this fight. A thing I was concerned about when playing this was that I'd seen lots of guys have the ability to make Rivera miss a lot, which we didn't see in this fight, and I was expecting that to be pronounced given how Dodson usually moves a lot, darts in and out, and is very fast. So I was expecting to see Rivera like taking big swings and missing a lot, but it didn't happen. So they were getting booed. Was it? I'm trying to recall if it was actually that bad. I don't think it was fucking terrible, but yeah, definitely not exciting. So good for Rivera to get back on the winning track, and I wonder what this means for Dodson now, because he really seems to be experiencing a downturn, and yeah, fuck knows. We shall see. He's got hair now, so that's something, I guess. Next fight up is Zabit Magomedsharipov defeating Brandon Davis via the same knee bar from the back that Aljamain caught in his fight. Uncanny, really. And you have to wonder, was Zabit watching that out the back? Did he see Aljamain's sub and then in his fight go, oh, right, I might fucking try that? If anyone is like talented enough to kind of just do some fucking wild shit like that, I think it is Zabit. So I'll be interested to hear him talk about that. But yeah, again, an interesting one where Zabit's got a short notice opponent who everyone expects him to beat pretty easily. I think once again though, we saw that Zabit starts slow on the feet and it takes him a while to get his striking going, but near the end of the round he began to, when he started throwing that left hook. And wouldn't mind seeing him use his jab more, being so tall and long, and his jab is really nice. But yeah, it takes him a while to get going, I think, but in the end, the spectacular submission and then just his ability to get takedowns and kind of control the fight. Yeah, really. Yeah, I think that's a good look for Zabit this one. He called out Chad Mendes after the fight. Wouldn't fucking love to see that fight. Pretty crazy, because that could be a very dangerous fight for Zabit, particularly on the feet with Chad's power, but Zabit wants it. They may have difficulty making it because of where they sit in the rankings, but we shall see. I would love to see that fight. Next fight up, the co-main event following the Valentina Nico fight being pulled. Jessica Andrade defeating Karolina Kowalkiewicz via KO at 1 minute 58 of the first round. So this is kind of like what I expected from this fight, but just not that spectacular. Yeah, so I guess you felt like Andrade would be able to walk through Karolina's offense and put pressure on her to the point where she capitulated, or just where Andrade won out a decision by grinding her. But yeah, Andrade came out and landed bombs early, just swinging with not great technique, but just power and aggression, man. And she's fucking scary in that division. Uh, Felt real sad. I don't know, Carolina seems like such a nice person, and it was kind of sad to see her get starched like that, but also real exciting for the division and for Andrade. Um, I guess, yeah, I don't see how they could deny Andrade the title shot now. Um, and just, I haven't put heaps of thought into it, but thinking about it, I think I'd favour Andrade, and I wouldn't be surprised if Andrade came out as the betting favourite. Think about, so the one person that beat Andrade was Joanna, and she beat her by keeping her at bay and throwing volume. Andrade still managed to walk through that, a lot of that offense, and yeah, I don't know, like does Rose possess the sort of power it would take to stop Andrade coming at you for 5 rounds? And it's hard to imagine that she would have. But then, yeah, just Rose's game of kind of maintaining range and kind of cooking her opponent, I don't see it working against Andrade. I think Andrade is too relentless, and I don't know. Just imagine, like, you know, you can just see like Rose landing fucking head kicks on her and her still charging forward. She's a fucking animal, man. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Andrade is the champion following that fight. And then we get fucking, potentially then we could get Tatiana versus Andrade, which is a crazy matchup, because would Tatiana be able to implement her wrestling against an opponent that strong? And at a guess, I would say yes, because I think Claudia Gadelha was able to get Andrade down, but who fucking knows, eh? But exciting fights to consider anyhow in that division. Once again, delivering. Main fight, Tyron Woodley defeating Darren Till via Das choke at the end of round 2. I was just ever so slightly favouring Till in this fight, and I wasn't basing that off much, more of a hunch. But yeah, Woodley came out and did some pretty aggressive things. He blitzed early and then implemented wrestling early, and I think Till's size, you saw why that is advantageous for him to fight at welterweight, because Woodley couldn't get him down and had difficulty. Till seemed to be able to compete in the clinch a couple of times, reversing him when Woodley got him against the cage. So yeah, you can see why Till fights at welterweight. He's a striker who wants to stay standing, and his size helps him stay standing. One thing, so once again, so you know, you think about city kickboxing guys, Israel, Dan Hooker, etc. Till has a similar kind of approach to them, where, like, I love the term cooking your opponent, you know, they just kind of boil them until they're done and then fucking get rid of them. But I would love to see Till do more while he's kind of getting his reads and assessing his opponent. So I think he threw a jab in this fight, and his jab looks pretty good, but he doesn't throw it. So I'd love to see him jab, throw the low leg kick, be not heaps more active, but a bit more active while in those early stages of the fight where he's assessing things and making his reads. I think that would assist him a great deal. And yeah, he just did too little, and you felt, so he appeared to be controlling the fight in terms of where it was taking place. He kept backing Woodley up, but he was doing it without really throwing anything. A little bit of feinting, but I felt like he could have done more feinting, more throwing strikes. And yeah, feinting becomes less effective if the opponent starts to believe that that's all you're doing. So if you're just feinting and you're not throwing strikes, then they're going to be like, alright, well, nothing's coming. So they'll get more comfortable. Which I guess is kind of the point as well, but yeah, he never got to the throwing of the strikes until that second round, and then he got counted and fucking dropped. So, real happy for Tyron Woodley. This kind of felt like a moment where he turned a bit of a corner. My brother was commenting, saying to me that they were watching in a bar in Portland, and he was like, "There's all these Woodley fans." And he's like, I didn't know there was such a thing. So, and apparently he got a standing ovation in the arena. So, cool for Woodley to get some appreciation. I feel like he is underappreciated. A lot of marks on his career recently through different things, not all his fault. And he showed he still is an exciting KO artist. And I imagine, so he's going to get a bit of love from this fight. If he gets Covington next and beats Covington, I'll be real interested to see kind of like what the perception of Woodley is, how people appreciate him. That then also would be 5 title defenses, which is a lot this day and age. So real happy for Woodley. I hope they make the Covington fight next. I would like to see that. I wouldn't be surprised if they try and make that for the 230 headliner, because they still don't have one. So yeah, great win for Woodley. As for Darren Till, see a lot of people immediately saying that he should go to middleweight, and I wouldn't hate that, but I wonder how he would go there. So top of the middleweight division, you got a lot of good wrestlers, and if he gives up that size advantage that he has at welterweight, that could potentially hurt him if he's gonna fight some really good wrestlers upper division. So I imagine he will stay at welterweight. He said he had an easy weight cut. That size obviously helps him a lot, but I guess it's a pretty big climb back to the title for him, given that he was beaten so convincingly. But you know, what would he have to do? Couple fights, couple wins. He's only 25 or 26. So say Covington gets, what you think will happen? Covington gets Woodley. What if they match up Usman and Till? If Till dispatches Usman, then he's right back in that conversation, I think, for contenders. So perhaps not too far off. And then you think about the work he'd have to do at middleweight to get to a title, and it's probably more, I think. I could be wrong, but either way, he's young, talented. I think we'll see him back. I think we'll see him fight for a title again somewhere, and if not, at least be very close to contention. So what do we got here? Yeah, so that was the whole card. Super entertaining. I got a lot of good comments this week, and I finally got some where people were teasing me, but they were actually fucking funny. So that pleased me greatly. I'll run through some comments. Shaker U says, tripped out when I saw your name on Bet MMA. Long time fan of your music. Big ups, G. Cheers for the insight. Thank you. Appreciate that. Hickson saying, get well soon, bro. Thank you. Solid INC saying, bro, you should totally have a Grips and Tonic song as your intro. Fuck no. I don't want to go into this so people don't look at it, but yeah, nah, that's an old group I was in. I don't want to use that music for the intro. Thank you though. Chris Heaney says, total agreement. In main event, man, hard to imagine how this fight is going to go down, but it almost feels obvious how it is going to go down by the same token. Yeah, I guess that's kind of how I felt. 10 Silly Diva, exhaustion. I don't know, man. Better start taking care of yourself, though. Thanks for the insight, as always. Thank you. I did take great care of myself this week, and a good friend of mine took care of me as well, feeding me up with arnica and other shit, burning oils around me and stuff, clearing up my sinuses. Lovely. Joe Milligan says, oh man, I fell into that YouTube MMA drama too. I'm new to Bet MMA tips. I'm currently at 222. My goal is to catch up with you by 2020. Friendly challenge. I enjoy your insights and bets. Keep it up. So yeah, I guess thanks, Joe, for the comment. In regards to your aspirations, I think I was like that when I began too, and then I had a couple of good events, and I was like, holy fuck, I'm like shot right up the leaderboard. And I guess that's all it takes, and a bit of consistency. I've only been going, what, 4 or 5 months now, so I'm sitting at 47. And yeah, you have a couple of events where you, I don't know, make 15, 20, 30 units off the event, and you're right up there. If you actually look through the leaderboard, there's not, yeah, it's not that thick. Like, you can break your way in if you have some consistency and have a few like exceptional events. So good luck to you, man, and I hope you get there before 2020. It feels good. Cracking top 50 feels good. I wanna, I guess now, what do I want to do? I haven't really thought about that leaderboard. I just kind of mainly focusing on being consistent and getting wins, but I know getting top 20 would be nice, so maybe that's something to work towards for me. Joe VOC says, hello, predictor of human violence inside an octagon structure with walls of chain link fence. I enjoyed that comment, thank you. TJ Bexford time stamped my last video, which I appreciate. Lots of people always ask me to do it, and honestly I just can't be fucked, so I'm sorry if you would really like that, but yeah, so there's a lot of people underneath being appreciative of TJ Bexford's effort, and I appreciate it too. Thanks, man. I'm a lazy shit, so this is a good one. Bookworm Bandit says, you keep a lovely and charming room. Have you thought about adding some fresh cut flowers, scented candles, and potpourri? So there's some scented candles over there and an oil burner. No potpourri. I ain't seen that shit for ages. People still use that. Fresh cut flowers would be nice, but yeah, I know I like to have a nice room. I like plants and art and nice smells, so I'm not sure if this person was making fun of me or not, but either or, good. Quincy Pinola said, you kind of look like Billy Corgan. Fuck. So that, like, I have to find this funny, but Billy Corgan's an ugly motherfucker. And I think this might be about the 5th or 6th time in my life someone has said that to me. Pray helps if I take the hat off. So yeah, it's not exactly flattering thing to say to me, but I can laugh at it. Billy Corgan, of course, if you're unfamiliar, the singer of Smashing Pumpkins. So thanks, Quincy. Yeah. The Drifter says, always wondered what the lads from Clockwork Orange did in their spare time. Now I know. Funny you should say that. I'm a big fan of Clockwork Orange, the book and the film. I had a girlfriend way back in the day, and her dad bought me the book. I'd seen the film at that point, but I hadn't read the book. So I first became aware of Clockwork Orange because where I grew up, there was all these skinheads who called themselves Clockwork Skins, and they had the kind of the black thing tattooed in their eye. There was a bunch of them. So that's kind of how I first learnt about it. I met a few of those guys in jail. And yeah, but great movie, great book. If you haven't indulged in either, I would highly recommend. Pat Mack, taking the piss out of me also, and my appearance says, what kind of SoundCloud rap song is this? To which I replied, it's way too long and the beat is trash. So I get it, and these are like, I like when people tease me and they're funny, way better than the garbage of people just trying to be pricks. CIA ran 2 said, cheers bro, my confident picks are Neil, got it. Brooks, got it. Alex White, nah. Rivera decision, nice. Stamen decision, no. Price, no. Andrade decision, no, she got the finish. Shevchenko, well that didn't happen. And Till, yeah, rough rough night. Lots of people were on tailway. Dewey Cooper says speed kills, man. Dodson to beat Rivera. Didn't transpire. Yeah. That's Jill says lol, Alex White and Craig White. It's time for the Don't Care segment. And with that, I believe, is it? No, not yet. So we got Russia next week. My father, Mark Hunt, fighting in the main event. I fancy him to get that win over Alexei. Hopefully he doesn't get caught in an Ezekiel choke. But excited to see him fight. I think that's real early morning for us here in New Zealand. Other things I want to talk about was 2:30 main event. I guess now Woodley versus Covington might be the one to make. I think that would be real fun. I think there's a lot of stuff they can do with the promotion of that fight. Could get kind of interesting. I think Covington's gonna say some fucking racist shit, undoubtedly. And yeah, I think people would really like to see Woodley smash him, which I suspect will happen. I think Woodley beats Covington. Yeah, I think he does. That I wouldn't be surprised also if they, I don't know, Valentina versus JJ for the 125 title feels maybe more like a co-main fight. But I guess if they have nothing, they could try and make that for 2:30 main event. Which does bring me to, I'm bringing it back to the Don't Care department. This week's one is GSP being brought up every time we're at a loss for an event. I don't know. I don't have any desire to see GSP fight Woodley or fucking the winner of Habib McGregor. I wasn't super jazzed about him fighting Bisping, and then I thought the fight wasn't great either. Maybe I need to go back and watch it again, but yeah, I just don't fucking care to see, like, I know GSP doesn't seem that interested unless it's like some sort of spectacle and blah blah blah, and I don't know, it's just uninteresting to me, and I don't think he's gonna be in great fights. Like, I mean, he wasn't towards the end of his career as well, so I don't really get all this kind of desire and nostalgia about GSP. I don't think we need him back in the UFC, but controversial perhaps because I know people love him and he's a popular figure. I really liked him back in the day, but yeah, I just have no desire to see him fight, and that kind of miffs me that every time they're at a loss for an event his name is brought up. I'm confused by it, so please enlighten me to why I should be interested in GSP fight. So with that, we're done for this week. Like I said, I'll be back probably in 2 days time, hopefully, with my picks and predictions for Russia. I'm gonna get my fucking money back. Like and subscribe to the channel. I'll have my Twitter and IG in the information section, and my email, and a link to my Bet MMA profile. So yeah, send me a message, comment, whatever. Real good comments this week. I appreciate them. Appreciate all the concern for my health. I'm back to nearly 100%, so thank you for that. I really appreciate it, and thanks for watching this video. I'll be back in a couple days. Shot.